Welcome to Good Boys Gone Bland, Season 6, Episode 1, The Devil Wears Prada. I'm your co-host, Denali.
I'm your co-host, Ryan.
I'm wearing a lot of layers because layers are fashionable, and layers are hot, and I want to die.
Well, Jace, it's not about what you're wearing, it's about who you're wearing.
I'm wearing the skin of my enemies.
Sheep?
Oh,
How many sheep enemies do you have?
It's also the hair, right? Like, there's no skin.
Yeah. With wool, there's no skin in wool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's all hair.
You can't
Yeah.
see a few of the layers that I'm wearing underneath this, like, you know.
He might have sheepskin. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys wear sheepskin on the bottom?
What? What are you doing? Sheepskin underneath?
Yeah. If anything, sheepskin is like a top layer situation.
I mean, it feels good on the skin. Like I've had some sheepskin. You know, I don't want to belabor this, but I've had some sheepskin seat covers
rubbed
before,
on
and
you.
It feels pretty nice. It feels pretty nice.
I don't want to belabor this, but like,
What?
I've had sheepskin rubbed on me.
It needs to be belabored. Excuse me.
Let's just
bring
move
it
on.
back.
I had car seats made out of sheep.
I only use parchment made out of human skin. I like how it feels, the vellum.
But let's move on from the human skin.
Welcome,
This is
Anne Hathaway.
episode. Yeah, welcome, Anne Hathaway. At some point, when we meet Anne Hathaway,
So stupid.
she's gonna come back and
I
listen to
forgot
this.
what we were doing.
Anne, we're so sorry. This is our first episode of Anne Hathaway. Starting off our Anne Hathaway season with Devil Wears Prada. We discussed a little bit in State of the Podcast about what we're going to call this season. We floated out a few ideas. We said we don't have to do the mansion. Do you guys have any ideas about season names just for this collection of Hathaway movies?
There's a joke that might be too convoluted, but we could do like a Berkshire Hathaway vacation package.
Because they're a real estate investment company, or a bigger conglomerate thing. That's funny.
That's pretty. That's kind
Berkshire
of.
Hathaway?
That's not really funny, but
Yeah.
it's clever maybe.
I was thinking like one of my ideas was Hathaway House. It sounds like a halfway house. So it's
And we are the recovering addicts.
What are we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're recovering from stupid shit.
yeah, we're recovering from Keanu,
From
and I might
blandness.
relapse.
Yeah.
Yeah, from
Ooh.
blandness. And there's and then or Good Boys Gone Anne, but I don't really. That's kind of too long.
That's pretty good.
And then go back to the house if we have to. Hathaway's hallway, Anne's Ant Hill. Come on, you got. I'm fucking pitching grounders over here. I need something. I need a relief pitcher.
I don't know how much I want to
yeah.
focus on the house thing. Like that's so
We don't have to do the
limiting.
house.
We thought we could do
Yeah.
it. We did it 5 times.
It can be a pun of any sort.
It can just be any sort of pun. Yeah.
But it could be a house. We didn't close the door. We opened it.
I don't have anything on the spot. I'll be honest.
She was in a movie called Havoc. Maybe we can call it Hathaway.
That's oof. That's
Okay,
a little, yeah.
That's another
Why
grounder.
don't
You
we
can't-
let it marinate for an hour?
And then we come back to it.
We'll come back to
Otherwise, we can just call it. I mean, Hathaway House is the only realistic.
That's not bad.
It's pretty fucking
But
funny.
I just
Yeah,
think that it's a little obscure.
I mean, and it's a little dark, you know. Is it fucked up? I don't think she wasn't in a halfway house at any point, so I feel like that's fine. We're not like referring to something that's insensitive as part of her history.
I think that's
Yeah.
insensitive to people who are in halfway houses
I
in
think
general.
it might be. It could be, or it could just be HH, like Hathaway House, like as in that is the house where Hathaways live. It doesn't have to be like halfway house.
Or we can just call it Anne Hathaway so people know exactly what we're doing.
That's insanely stupid, Ryan. I can't even believe you said something like that.
I don't care what the
We
people
could just-
think.
Yeah, we could just say this is the Anne Hathaway season. Season 6. Just read the fucking description. You'll see what the movies are. I wanted to kind of get your guys, because we're at the beginning of Anne Hathaway's her season. We're about to delve into 9 more movies. I wanted to hear, like, you know, what's your guys' first movie experience or impression of Anne Hathaway? Like, do you guys remember when you first kind of saw her in a movie?
The Princess movie.
Is it Princess Diaries, right?
Princess Diaries, yeah.
Yeah, I think same here.
You know, I grew up in like a very toxically masculine household, right? So
Yeah.
I think I pretty much was only exposed to her in the third Batman movie.
Wow, that late in the game. 2008?
I'm just
no,
trying to
2012.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Like, I never
Yeah.
watched any rom-coms growing up. Can I tell you about this?
Yeah.
Like, at one point, my family was making fun of me for wanting to watch The Princess Bride in, like, 2016 after I'd already been to college. And we were all
2016?
together,
Damn.
and it was on TV. And I was like, oh, cool, The Princess Bride. And they're like, you want to watch The Princess Bride?
Have you
That's
seen the movie?
It obviously has
Yeah.
girls in it. Why would you want to watch that? And I'm thinking, like, okay, first off, if you're approaching this
Yeah.
from this perspective, you know there's girls in it, and you're making fun of me for wanting to watch things with girls. That's what I don't get about that. Like, do you
Yeah.
only want to watch things with men in it? But you're implying that I somehow
Right.
am,
Not
homosexual.
masculine or yeah, right.
And so it doesn't even make logical sense. And then if you watch the movie, all the characters are men except for one.
Yeah, it's not even a quote unquote girl movie, despite
Right.
having like a,
Would
It's-
you
yeah, it's
rather
anyone's
watch
movie, yeah.
Prince Groom?
Prince Groom.
Ryan, you passed at least 18 channels with Super Macho Man movies on them, and you want to watch the one with Princess in the title?
Princess in the
pretty much,
name.
No, that's seriously like pretty much how it happens.
Yeah,
and you
I
have
mean,
been like,
that's-
knights have been trying to get with princesses for a millennia.
Yeah,
That's
the
so
whole, that's
hetero.
literally the whole ordeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my first experience was Ella Enchanted, which came out I think in 2002. That was kind of also an earlier career, like because Anne Hathaway kind of cut her teeth doing princess type movies, like kind of family comedies. I think Jace, like Princess Diaries was like her first breakout role. I think she was like 19 when she filmed that, and then moved on to Ella Enchanted, which was like that. It was like I saw that in theaters where I think she was a princess who had to do anything she was told by a curse. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, but I remember I think it was funny at the
Not
time.
reviewing that one.
Yikes. I mean, it's a Disney
Okay,
movie.
I had watched Alice in Wonderland, right? Because she's in
yeah,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
Hathaway movie.
I'm looking up her IMDb page. So that was in 2010.
Hey, hear me out. There could be a deli dude that had to do whatever he was told, and he's like,
Oh,
He works behind the counter.
really, yeah.
so he's like a reverse. Who is it? The Purple Man from Jessica Jones. Like what
know
anything he
what that
says,
is.
the person has to do, but like he's the opposite of that.
Oh,
so if
like
someone
Push.
like Push, was that a plot line in Push?
I was
where the
kinda-
guy?
Thinking like,
Yeah, with that obscure Chris Evans, Dakota Fanning movie.
I know the movie.
I like Push. That's a good movie.
It is
It's a good movie.
That's a funny thing. It's dude, we should review like these weird, like forgotten about kind of mid-budget action movies.
What's
Chris
that?
Evans season.
What's the movie
Yeah.
with the four kids that get superpowers from the meteor, and then one
Oh,
of them goes
Oh,
crazy?
Chronicle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't I don't think it has mind control, but like.
Oh yeah, I
mean,
was just
if we had
shitty.
That's a good movie. It's a fun movie. Michael B. Jordan. That was like one of his first roles, early roles, not first roles.
I was thinking that he like like there's a separate personality too. So like he gets told to kill somebody, and then like his eyes roll back, and then he becomes a
Yeah.
crazy fighter.
So,
oh,
like-
how about this? He can do whatever anybody says he can do.
Right.
Like,
So he'll
so-
be like, stop
someone
that
says,
meteor.
Yeah, make this, I want a tuna sandwich on rye. And I don't know why that's the first sandwich that came to my head. It's
Yeah,
what I
it's
ordered.
because you're a 90-year-old man.
And that he like can't do it. And then it's like, oh, can you get that off the top shelf? And there's no ladders nearby. And his arm just like grows 3 sizes, and he can grab it. His
This is
arms
another
come
category.
in sizes.
Yeah. He's up
Category
there.
5 mutant.
Mhm.
That's extremely powerful. Like
Can do.
can do, man. Can
His
do.
name is Can Do,
Oh.
and his hair looks like a can.
Huh. Okay, yeah, we can workshop that. That sounds pretty good.
John, please don't tell him to fuck himself again.
Every day.
Anyway, Ella Enchanted.
New York.
For a deep cut.
Yeah. Ella Enchanted's a great movie. She actually beat out Liv Tyler for Princess Diaries, her breakout role. And like thinking about Liv Tyler in that role, I feel like she would have been fine, but I feel like Hathaway, my impression of her is someone who has that kind of like nervous yet like really giddy energy that I think makes some of these roles work. Where she's coming in as like someone who's not of that world and is breaking into something that's like really crazy or toxic or something like that. And I feel like she's so good for those types of roles, like in this movie.
Yeah, I think she can play different classes, like economic and social classes, right? Like she can be an everyday person, you know, she can be in the 99% and she can also be the 1%.
Yeah, and also with a name like Anne Hathaway, it literally sounds like British royalty. But she is such, like, coming off of the Keanu season, and I'm not talking shit about Keanu. Don't you dare think I'm going to do that. But she has such a natural acting ability where I feel like every line she delivers.
It's very different than the Keanu season.
Yeah. Like, there was no clunkers throughout the whole movie. It was just very naturally given. I believed it was totally conversational. Sometimes,
you're very right. Like,
Keanu,
thing. It's like all these guys we've been watching and the dogs in the horror movies have been, like, full of terrible acting. I mean, some Matthew McConaughey movies, sure, and like Ben Affleck, sure, like Gone Girl and stuff. But like, man, they really are being pulled along by Hollywood's, you know, boner for 40-year-old men. And then and then women, like, for the only chance for them to succeed is if they're extraordinarily talented.
Yeah.
And like the first movie we have with Anne Hathaway is a banger.
Like Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, and Emily Blunt, like 3 of probably the most highest paid, most successful actresses, I think, in the game, all giving like really great performances. And then like, we can get into the movie too, but just seeing them act at that level coming off of the Keanu season, where sometimes he'll deliver a line where he's like, oh, I can't even, like, where he's like, oh no, my wife, we can't do that. Like, it's just such a huge contrast. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air watching this movie.
Meryl Streep can deliver a fucking monologue, dude.
God, she's so fucking good.
Which, Keanu's monologues are 5 words.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the surfboard didn't fit in my car.
Oh,
everybody's like,
Keanu.
Yes, we got it in one take.
Look, we praised him enough in the Keanu season. Like, there's no...
there's a time and place for praising Keanu Reeves, and it's literally the 20 recorded hours that we have praising Keanu Reeves.
Not right now.
Do you guys have an idea of, like, the meter? Like, I had one pitch for the meter, and I thought, maybe Hathawometer sounded kind of funny.
I don't like the
Hathawometer.
Because it's like woman.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, fuck. I just thought Hathawometer sounds wacky, but okay, yeah, shit. Hathaway meter, Ann meter. Ann meter is like just okay, I think. Anometer. I think that is an anus thermometer. I think that literally is. Let me look that up.
Can we look that up? I know nothing about.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm remembering something wrong. That does sound like a medical instrument.
It's an anemometer. It's an instrument for measuring the speed of the wind or of any current of gas.
Anemometer.
So it kind of, there's a butt joke to be there.
Hathawaymeter? The H meter? Hath meter.
I don't think necessarily the name is as important as...
the Hathometer.
Yeah, that's fine. The Hathometer.
Can we think of anything that doesn't have to be O-meter?
We had this convo.
We tried.
I know.
Every season we come back to it.
The Hath scale. The Hathaway scale.
Ands and ends.
Okay, look it up. Measuring.
Odds and ends.
Odds and ends. Is there anything there with calipers?
I'm going to look up measuring tools.
I already did that. And all of them say fucking meter.
Yeah, because the
Hathaway tape.
The Ann ruler.
Protract.
The Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
We do not have to broadcast all this.
No, yeah, of course. This is great content.
For 6 hours. Okay, I'm on HomeDepot.com now.
Yeah, we do.
Well, so what are we doing, right?
And score. Hathaway. We're trying to find out a meter.
I know, but why?
Right.
We're distilling someone's body of work into measurable qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. An essence. And part of...
Ansence.
I don't know if that's great.
Time to burn some incense.
Because we're trying to figure out if Anne, first of all, has a flavor as an artist, which I think she does. And also we're trying to figure out if that flavor eventually gets bland if you watch 10 in a row.
How about this? 100-foot green combination laser level self-leveling with Visimass technology, fine adjustment mouse, and a hard carrying queso meter.
Hathaway.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, we'll figure out the meter.
Will we?
I think the Hathometer is okay. Or Anne meter, because is there any other really famous Annes that we might do? Well, we can just do a placeholder now, and if we think of a better idea, we can pitch it in a later episode and switch it. Well, so what kind of roles do you guys think Anne takes? Because like we kind of talked about Keanu's typical roles as like an action star, or McConaughey was kind of like the smooth talker Southern guy. Does she have a type? Yeah.
I think in every one of my experiences with watching her, she is told that she's ugly.
Yeah.
Like somebody is just like, you fat piece of
which is crazy. Like that is insane.
Well, it's just like for, women's, image, like body image stuff. Like it's just absolutely bananas. But like,
yeah,
that's something I just associate with Anne Hathaway. There's someone, unfortunately, I think it's usually other women, right? Are just like, they talk down to her like she's a disgusting half pig, half human. And then by the end, obviously, there's some sort of makeover situation.
Yeah, I mean, that was the initial plot of Princess Diaries, where there's a famous makeover scene. And then in this one, like literally, like they're like insulting her. Like everyone, all the staff are just calling her the most terrible looking person. And she doesn't even dress that bad, I feel. Like they're just like, you're dressed in literal rags and shit. And she's just wearing like a nice
Why are we hiring you?
trench coat. Or like, I don't know. It's like,
who scraped this piece of gum off the sidewalk?
Who let her in here wearing that? Ew.
That was good. Yeah, I think she takes a lot of those roles initially, and then now she's kind of graduated into that. I think that, I don't know if it's called like the legacy stage, but she's like an institution now. She's like such an A-lister where it's like, oh, she's in this movie. It's probably going to be good at this point.
Right.
Because I feel like this movie was the inflection point of where she bridged into like more mature, critically acclaimed roles. This was coming right out of Brokeback Mountain, which I think was like her first adult movie.
By the way, I think you stumbled upon the name, the Annestitution.
The Annestitution.
We got institutionalized.
Right.
We went crazy.
For Anne Hathaway.
No. We're not stalkers.
The location is the Annestitution.
It's the Annestitution.
And Keanu drove us fucking crazy. They're programming us back to normal society. We're entering the Annestitution.
This role was a cool role for her. She was coming out of like a string of, it sounded like kind of like variably successful family movies, and then she said she was like the 9th choice for the role of Andy in this movie. Like I think
that's just like chaos theory, right? Like if she wasn't in this movie, someone else would be in this movie, and we'd be talking about a different person, or like so.
No shit, yeah.
I mean, there's probably other people who their careers would have been changed, and maybe she just would have done a slightly different movie, and we'd still be doing an Anne Hathaway season, and we would be watching that movie instead.
Yeah, she might have jumped to was it Les Mis like right after this?
Yeah,
Love and Other Drugs, Rachel Getting Married. Yeah, she didn't like need this, I feel, but this was originally for Rachel McAdams. They said. Who turned it down because she didn't want it to play like another mainstream role.
And there's no time traveling.
Exactly, and that's kind of her MO. And then like I heard Anne Hathaway, she like wanted this so bad, she like traced Hire Me into like the Zen garden of like the executive producers thing while they were like talking. It's a little weird, but it worked, and they really liked her energy.
This up?
No, that's like that was in the IMDb of like how bad she wanted the role.
She traced the words "hire me" into somebody's Zen garden.
Yeah, like the little.
That sounds that sounds really not Zen, by the way.
Tracing something. Yeah, I mean,
hire me or I'll kill you.
Yeah, she threatened it. But yeah, ninth place for this, and eventually she got the role because I think everyone turned it down, and then I think one of the producers really liked her, and they were like, Princess Diaries was fucking huge. That was like a huge success. I think it made like 200 mil in the box office. So yeah, we're
in for a treat because I love this movie.
Yeah, first time for all of you?
Yeah.
I got first time too.
First time.
Yeah, first time.
The thing when we decided on Anne Hathaway, my expectation was this is going to be a McConaughey-esque and
Really?
like I'm going to hate most of these movies, and they're all going to be super problematic.
Right.
Just because that's how I view of rom-coms.
Sure.
But this kind of caught me off guard, I guess, right? Did you guys feel the same way? Like, my expectations that this was going to be, like, maybe a little more girly, but still a rom-com. I mean, I catch the tail end of enough of them that I kind of know what stereotypical things they cover. But this was crazy. This was like,
it's not
almost
a rom-com.
not even a rom-com. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was rom really at all. Kind of just like a dramedy.
Oh, I was about to say there's no com. If anything, there's rom, but no com.
I thought there was more com and no rom.
What?
Like, where's the rom?
There's like,
There's like two ROMs.
There's
the original ROM, and then there's the new ROM.
neither of them
She
are
already has.
like
yeah.
the
Who's
focus
the
of the
mom?
movie is not the relationship that she has with either of these characters.
Exactly.
So
That's
it's
my
not a rom.
only critique about this movie, though.
Or is that your critique because you thought this was a rom-com? Because nobody online
the
calls
same
this
thing with
movie a
Lake House.
rom-com.
No, my critique is that it's too ROM.
Okay, before we get into it,
Oh.
Ryan, do you want to go over the synopsis since it's your week?
Oh, it's my week?
Yeah, you pick the movie. We have a new patented system where whoever
You
does
have
a
to
synopsis.
explain
Yeah.
everything to me every week.
Well, let's also explain maybe the concept of the show as well, which we forgot to
Oh,
do. We are Good Boys Gone Bland. We watch 10 movies of a single actor or subject. We picked Anne Hathaway for this season. We're watching 10 movies. We watched Devil Wears Prada to start us off.
The Wheel of Chaos kind of picked this for us. But
Yeah,
it was
that's
a
true.
great
They did
pitch.
pick.
Thanks, Wheel
Thank
of
you.
Chaos.
yeah. This week we watched The Devil Wears Prada from 2006. You may have heard of it. So Anne Hathaway plays Andy Sachs, right? And she is a new assistant at a fashion magazine. And Meryl Streep plays her boss, Miranda Priestley. And there's a little bit of controversy about, who Meryl Streep is based on, because it's an open secret. And
Vogue.
I don't know who it is.
it's Anna Wintour from Vogue. I don't want to go into it too much, but the idea is it's almost a fish out of water situation where Anne Hathaway isn't meant for this job. She's not the normal type of person they hire. So she doesn't know anything about fashion. So it's kind of what the heck? The last people I've hired, I've always hired the same people and they all suck. So I'm going to hire this different person. And then Anne Hathaway learns that she needs to appreciate the fashion industry and that she can succeed at whatever she wants to succeed at as long as she tries. And so she battles her boyfriend who's a jerk and thinks that this job sucks and you need to just be a boyfriend all the time, and her other friends who do the same thing. And then she has a little bit of a learning situation there, and a little bit for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Devil Wears Prada, folks. This movie was a runaway fucking hit. $41 million budget. Jace, you mentioned it. $326 million box office, which is fucking huge. They said, I looked at because I like to look at opening weekends for the movies we watch. 2006, June 30th. This opened at number 2, just below Superman Returns, which was an absolute shitter.
What?
Wow.
That's where I was at that time? Because I remember watching that. I saw that thing twice in theaters, I think.
You saw Superman Returns twice in theaters?
This is the period where I will watch literally anything in theaters, because there was one movie theater in the town in California, and so I've seen Superman twice. I saw this is where the failure to launch joke comes from.
You saw Superman twice and just didn't see Devil Wears Prada.
I didn't see Devil Wears Prada.
Did they even show
I
it
think that's
at your theater?
well. I think they might have, but the problem was we would have been made fun of. So
Right,
public
yeah.
took a
We're
stance.
little boys. We were 11,
I also
12.
watched so I watched Failure to Launch twice, and I watched Fever Pitch twice
I
with
like that
Jimmy
movie.
Fallon.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore and Jimmy
Jimmy
Fallon. That was a
Fallon.
fun
And it
movie.
was Jamie Fallon's only serious movie.
Also that weekend, number 3 was Click, which I did see in theaters instead of Devil Wears Prada.
So the two movies that don't deserve to have made any money sandwiched the best movie that weekend.
Yeah, and I should say Devil Wears Prada eventually overtook Superman over the weeks, because I think word of mouth kind of
You
got
guys
out.
didn't like Click?
It was okay. Not his worst. Not the worst Sandler movie. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was very that movie's very stuck in time.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, that's a good joke. Because, I mean, mid 2000s, you're not happy with your life. What do? You go to Bed Bath & Beyond and buy a TV remote. Like, it's so era of cable, like pre-streaming.
Yeah. We can save it for the Sandler season. This movie, right out of the gate, extremely 2000s, which I think kind of just like was a weird, like comforting feeling. Because right out of the gate, you get an establishing shot of New York. Mm-hmm. And then you're just like, suddenly I see, like playing in the background. And it's just a montage of someone getting ready. And I was like, fuck, like this is just straight back into like our comfort zone of movies of that era. Because I feel like, intros like that are just not around anymore in the last 12, 15 years.
It was very How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah,
the intros
around,
were pretty similar, I think.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I totally forgot we watched that movie too. I think it was around like literally the same year too.
The thing that I liked about this movie, I think if you just updated the technology in it, it would still work.
Oh, totally.
Besides the music and the dating of it,
I thought
this movie has stood the test of 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So, Jace, are you saying like give them iPhones instead of those stupid little flip phones, and then you would be convinced that it was filmed this year?
Yeah.
Besides the print journalism part, I think they would have moved to an
well,
online
I think
format.
One thing too, though, is like fashion is inherently number one. It's trend setting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's relatively stable-ish, right? Because like it's not like a fad. Fashion isn't just fads, right? Fashion is supposed to be, this is what people want. And they even talk about it in this movie because Anne Hathaway shows up wearing a sweater that's like cerulean blue.
Right.
And this triggers the first Meryl Streep monologue. And she goes into like how Anne Hathaway thinks it's just a stupid sweater with a stupid color. And she picked it because no other colors are like that. Well, 3 years ago, I designed a sweater that was that color, and then somebody got an idea from me, and they made a line of sweaters, and then somebody knocked those off, and then you picked one up at a secondhand thrift shop or something, and just owns her. But like the thing there is like the fashion decisions that they were making in that room might have, only become popular to people like you and me 5-10 years later.
Kind of like a trickle down effect of fashion.
It's the kind of, everybody knows fashion is the Reaganomics of clothes.
Jesus. Yeah.
I think the like confusing part to me was that a lot of the outfits that they were wearing didn't seem really they seemed like high fashion. And I don't really have a sense for fashion as a whole and its movements and where it's at, but like do know that there is like high fashion and then what is in fashion for normal people to be wearing. And the gaudy 8-foot-long necklaces with pearl and Dolce & Gabbana symbols and the different fur coat every day and some of the pants, I was like, do people dress like this in New York?
Yeah. I mean, some people do. Like, I feel like in this movie, they were wearing a lot of ready-to-wear type of fashion, But yeah, there is some, Jace, like, some high fashion stuff where you look at it on the runway and it's just a proof of concept of like, oh, you're crocheting this way, or oh, you can stitch this way, and it might give you an idea for something that might actually be wearable. But like, I didn't see too much of like the, like the gorilla hand or like the crazy ass looking, things we would see on the runway.
Well, and think about influencer culture now, right? Yeah. Like now you probably see this in LA a lot, like. Yeah. These influencers are wearing a different outfit every day because they're buying them or being maybe sometimes
borrowing.
They're being paid to wear them and post videos and stuff. So like that might be more what Jason's talking about, like what's fashionable to us, because I think like it or not, we're closer to influencers than we are to like high fashion.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be, if this was made today, that would be like a new aspect of it, is contacting influencers, because that is such a huge part of the fashion game, it seems now, where influencers will borrow things and just like fucking wear it for a day and take pictures and then be like, oh, you got exposure for me wearing this shit, and and that's kind of how fashion seems to go now, where it's almost like there's like a middle portion. It doesn't come from all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom now. There's like this like secondary aspect to it. But I don't understand it that well. But to get back to kind of the themes of this movie, like I feel like this, like any person in their early 20s would get fucking PTSD watching this. just because, I mean, the three of us, I think we had the same reaction, and the same with Amber watching this and being like, I kind of felt my throat closing up a little bit, where the scene where she's talking to her boss and just seeing the toxicity radiating out of the office. And I think it sucks, but like, I think everyone in coming out of college has had an experience really like this. And I wonder if that's what kind of you were getting at when you said like you kind of wanted to vent about this movie, was about kind of toxic work culture and being in an environment where you're so afraid of, of retaliation or of making someone mad, or that you're just like paralyzed,
Actually, no, that's not what I was going to talk about. Yeah. So,
okay, yeah.
I mean, we can go into that a little bit. I've never been in that situation, right? Like, I've never been in a workplace where I have to walk on eggshells, at least, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I think in some extent, usually people don't have like the boss that's like screaming at them, but I think it is at least somewhat relatable. I think a lot of people are in scenarios where, it can either be a coworker or a boss, where everyone is so tense, just kind of looking at them, waiting for their approval or things like that. And I think this movie captured that feeling so well with how everyone was kind of frantically running around Meryl Streep's character, as she was just kind of like she was very like calm, right? She wasn't big. She was very like quiet with how she played the role. But watching something like that where I was just like, oh, Jesus. Like,
yeah, I think the biggest aspect for me is the work-life balance. I don't have anyone. I mean, I have some coworkers that I just do not like. So there's some tension when I have to interact with them. It's like, I don't want to be an asshole to you. Well, I mean, I do, but I'm going to remain civil and try to get the job done or work with you in the way that we need to. But specifically the phone thing and her boss being able to call her at any minute, at any time. My boss Teams messages me at like 9 or 10 p.m. And I don't think he has I don't think he expects me to respond. But I can't turn off. Like, I read the message and I'm like, I need to respond to this because I need to close it out because I don't want to be thinking about it for the next 4 hours. But in this case, you're working for Meryl Streep, who is literally the top 0.00001%. She's the top of the pyramid in the fashion world. It seems like that should be the only time you should ever be able to have a boss that's like that. It's if they're literally the best person in the world at what they do.
Well, right.
Doesn't make it better, though.
So, you guys, we're going to lead into what I want to talk about, like, really smoothly, I think. We're not quite there, but Julie's in that situation, right? Because she's a teacher, and now with technology, especially during the pandemic, technology has infiltrated the classrooms like 100%. So now she has all these apps that the teachers can use to contact her.
Yeah.
And they do it all the time. They do it 5 o'clock on a Friday. They do it 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. They do it on Sundays and stuff like that. So like, Jace, what you talked about with seeing a Teams message and being like, I gotta respond. Like, that's what happens to her. And usually, I give her a look and she's like, okay, fine. I'll ignore it. It's, 7 on Friday and we're like having a drink at home or something. And then about a half hour later, I can notice her like fidgeting. Right. And she's not really paying attention to what I'm saying. And so I'm just like, okay, respond. And so then she takes an hour to fix this problem. And there's 20 parents in her room, right?
Yeah.
So like this could happen multiple times a day. And it's not like it's one boss, but like collectively they're like this additional boss.
Yeah, like I totally get that work-life balance. I mean, I think the three of us are, we're professionals, and we maybe sometimes get too into the game. Like, I definitely relate to like delving into work and not being able to switch off after like a shitty day of work, and you're still thinking about it, and you're not getting paid to fucking think about it, and you're just like, oh man. And what of Stanley Tucci's things that he said was like, the better you do at work, the worse your social life is. And he's like, tell me when your whole life goes up into smoke, that's when you're due for a promotion. And I was like, oh fuck, like that's such a good line.
It's such
but yeah, like
we just had when we were up in Bellingham, one of the guys there just retired after a long time being a police officer and then being in border patrol. But he was like, man, everything has shifted and it's changed, and it's honestly one of the reasons that I had to retire. And I'm gonna hate saying this. He said, when I was younger, anytime you were given the opportunity to work overtime, you'd work it because it was money that you would be putting in your pocket. And nowadays, everybody only wants to work 9 to 5. It's like, yeah, no shit, everybody only wants to work 9 to 5. The earth is going to fuck all. We have bosses in our phones, as we just previously talked about, that are able to try and get our attention anytime they want. And like the line between having a personal life and your job, which sucks and probably isn't paying you enough, is so blurred. It's like, no, I'm not going to work the overtime unless I have to.
Yeah. And on top of that, I don't even want to work the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, that's way too
You're
much.
not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Now it's also even like 8 to 5. Like most job postings now I look up.
Yeah,
because
they're not going to pay you for
8
your
hours plus lunch.
Yeah, they're not going to pay you for your breaks.
I'm like, fuck that. Like, why should anyone have to be chained to a piece of shit job for 40 hours a week and still be struggling to get by? But even if you're making a good salary, like, it's so much of your fucking time. Like, and I feel like there's been a paradigm shift. I mean, we've had those conversations with, older generations where they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do when I don't have work. Or like, I'll get bored if I don't
Because
work.
I know exactly what I'm going to do when I don't have work. It's what I do when I don't have work.
Everything that I want to do.
That's the reason I don't want to work.
It's like, it's called having hobbies.
It's called living your life starting at age 0, not age 65.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I think this movie rings so well. It ages so well, like you guys said. Like, I wish I saw this movie as a child because maybe it would have helped me kind of rearrange some of those mistakes I've made.
Exactly.
Earlier.
That's what I want to talk about. It's like, I went into this cold. I knew kind of what it was about, but I did not know what the plot was going to be. And I did not expect, of all people in a movie to identify with, that I would identify with Anne Hathaway in like a romantic comedy drama movie about fashion. Like, I see myself in her so much. And that is, I like her as a character. I look up to her. I admire her character in this movie. And I think what this movie did so well is say, as much as we talked about how much right now, like how much we don't want to work a lot, there is some value to be pulled out of a situation where you push yourself to your limits. Where I'm the first person in my family to go to college, right? And
You're a lawyer too. You literally, I can't. Dude, sitting in a room having one guy be like, I'm going to point at you and you better know the fucking answer to this question, which is literally what Anne Hathaway.
Some rungs for your kids.
And so the idea is this is going to be extremely difficult. This is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't know exactly what I'll get out of it. Not just money. But she even says, for 1 year, I'm going to basically disappear. My social life isn't going to be great. My relationships are not going to be great. But you know what? I'm going to push myself as hard as I can because I'm going to do this. And you know what? Because she said I couldn't do it, And that speaks to me so much. When I was living in Portland, I worked at Target and I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to go to law school. And I started studying for the test and everything like that and started dreading my everyday. My hobbies went to the shitter. I didn't have that much of a social life except for drinking after work with my roommates. And I just decided this wasn't right. And I traded that for going to a top law school. And that transition, I had to tell Julie. I just, before we started, even when I was applying and deciding where I wanted to go, I had to tell her, look, my social life and everything is going to suck. We are not going to spend as much time together as you want. There's going to be times when, we're apart for an entire day. And if I would have had someone like the boyfriend in this movie, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Right? Where someone who's guilt tripping me for doing this thing for myself, I pushed myself as hard as I possibly could. And I found out where my limits were. I found out there were people better than me. I had never been in a situation where I wasn't the smartest person in the room, except for professors and stuff, all throughout college. Right. And that's,
what are you saying, man?
So seriously, that's part of I went to a small school.
No, I get you.
And not, I mean, that's a saying, right? Being the smartest person in the room, but
course,
like,
I think you're fucking better than me.
I surrounded myself with like all my friends, and so like,
yeah.
okay, you guys make me feel like shit now that I'm like, But when the boyfriend says, it's all, you only do this job because it's about shoes and shirts and stuff. Like, no, that's not what it's about. Like, by the way, in that movie, she's giving that stuff away to her friends. But like, it's about seeing what you as a person can do, right? And pushing yourself to your limit. And I did that when I got out of my comfort zone, moved across the country, and went to the hardest school I could. And I remember being told by somebody that if I went to the undergrad that I went to, I would never get into a good graduate school. And that was literally, I thought about that every single day for the next 4 years until I got into one of the best schools like in the country. And like, then I got there and thought I was hot shit, and I found out there were people that were way fucking smarter than me there. And I finally felt like so relieved, you know, like this idea that I'm going to have to like try really, 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 really hard just to skate by. And I loved it. And that was like, yeah, my social life suffered, you know, like my relationship suffered, but I would never trade it. Like I learned so much about myself. And now I know that I don't want to do that again. Right. Yeah. That's also the most important part. I have friends who are my law school friends who are working in big law in New York City. And just like this movie, they're doing it again. They're at dinner. They get a phone call from their boss. They have to leave dinner and go back to the office and finish writing something. We were at a breakfast in Chicago for a wedding, and one of my friends listens to the podcast. They know who they are. We were waiting for her to eat breakfast, and then she had to go back to the hotel room because she got an email from a partner. Wow. And like, not once did any of the 12 people that we were with for breakfast think anything bad about that person. It was we were all like, hell yeah, you go girl, you get it. You know, go do whatever you have to do to succeed and push yourself as hard as you want to push yourself. Like, I will never ever make fun of somebody for pushing themselves and working hard. Now, I also will never do the opposite. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm doing. I work a great job. I work 35 hours a week. Yeah. You know, I have a kick-ass job. I have a great boss. I love my workplace. I love my workplace culture. And it's not that culture. And that's, I think, this movie, I really should have watched this movie about 10 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I didn't know about that aspect too, Ryan. That's like, you know, that's interesting to hear about your experiences, you know, in law school. And I think that does tie in the movie because, like you said, like she does test her upper limit and decides that's not for her, and she takes something that's more
totally like
in line with her passion. Yeah,
I was so scared at the end of this movie there's this famous speech like, you know, everyone wants to be us situation, and like her getting out and leaving, and that's like the whole story of the movie. And I was worried that this movie would lose me by Anne Hathaway becoming the next you know, Meryl Streep character. But that turn, like, really, I really, really liked that.
I think
I did too.
It was she got lost in the sauce. Mm-hmm.
Totally, yeah.
Like the redeeming factor of that, and I liked one of the things you say, Ryan, is there's a line that gets crossed sometimes, and we don't know if the director or the people making the movie know if the character is a bad person or not. And that can leave you on this side of the screen being like, I don't really... Yeah. And we get that. Like, 3/4 of the way into this movie, Anne Hathaway is a bad person. And she, like... from my perspective, and it, like, whether or not she was grinding, you know, and she had the disagreement with her boyfriend, you know, she leaves, she goes to Paris, she has sex with the guy, and then, like, in that moment, it was like, she gets out on the other side and she realized this is not what I want to be doing. And it was like, oh, she's the bad person right now. And then she's like, I need to get out of this because it's a toxic environment and it is not what I came here to set out to do. It made me better, but she was like, I'm doing exactly what I didn't want to do. I'm becoming way too involved in the fashion industry. I wanted to be a journalist. And that was a great character development.
Yeah, totally. And this, Ryan kind of mentioned it too. Like, this was based on, a book, and like the big story of the book was that the author was a personal assistant of the American Vogue editor, Anna Wintour. And like the people are thinking like the book is a literal account of what she went through in that, during that experience. And people, when they were making this movie, they wanted to get like fashion people in on it to make it authentic. And everyone was like, I'm not fucking working on this because like Anna Wintour is gonna like blacklist
they wouldn't even
me.
like the fashion houses wouldn't even donate clothes to the set.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was that accurate. And then there was even like I guess Wintour, like she saw the movie and said, she's like, oh, I liked Meryl Streep's like depiction, and she ended up saying that she liked the movie, but it's like pretty much confirmed that it's literally about her. And they even designed the office, her office in the movie, based on Anna Wintour's actual office, and she actually changed it after the fact because she was so ashamed about that the depiction, which I thought was just like a wild thing. So in a way, this is literally the author's arc, because she quit that job and basically became a writer, and now publishes her own books. She's had 2 sequels to this, to this story that was really successful. And in a way, what kind of made me sad at the end, I mean, obviously Anne Hathaway has her arc, but Stanley Tucci and Emily Blunt's characters, who were so fun to watch,
got boned.
But they're stuck. They're stuck in the they're stuck in the sauce. Emily Blunt's character, who I think was fucking hilarious. She gave a great, colorful performance. But she's stuck in that same position where she's totally underappreciated, way too stressed out, and is hazing another Anne Hathaway character. And then Stanley Tucci, where he just tragically gets fucking backstabbed. And he's like, I'll get my moment. And that's it. That's the last thing you see of him.
Yeah, it's pretty pitiful, right? And that's why, like, I don't hate these people who work like this, that maybe spend their entire lives doing this. Like, in some ways, it's a really it's a great thing, They're like that's the speech about the beginning where she says, 5 years ago I designed that shirt or one like it, and now somebody's ripping me off. If I wasn't in this room working so hard, you wouldn't be wearing that shirt. But on the other hand, like it's okay to be that person, and it's okay not to be. I think that's what's great about this movie, is it's not really judging anybody but Meryl Streep's character, because she's just a mean person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's fucking mean.
Like I don't think Emily Blunt was a bad person.
She was rude, but no, she's not a bad person. She was kind of a dick to Anne Hathaway's character.
That's like what her job was, to be a dick.
Right.
Almost,
Shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Big poop out of Meryl Streep. Hits Emily Blunt. Bounces off of her.
Small poop. And then, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. Like, it's your call whether you want to, focus that much on your career. But, United States work culture has been so focused on just kind of like that get up and grind, create money and create commerce. It's just kind of like feed the capitalist machine. You are just a cog. That's all you're good for. And seeing this, it's all over Reddit and the news, where it's just like kind of this anti-work, kind of revolution happening. And I think this movie is becoming more relevant because of that. It's somewhat reframing. Because you look at this movie and you kind of see like, what did she get out of that? I mean, sure, she got a sweet resume point and got a reference, but I mean, really, her life was in shambles after that. Her friends probably don't trust her the same way. Her relationship with her boyfriend's probably not going to be the same. We don't really know.
Well, I think drop that sack of dirt. That's what I'm saying. Is like,
I don't think he was a bad person. It's like she wasn't very clear with the expectations of what the work was going to be, and she set like whether or not you have to grind and it becomes something that you have to do. Being like, I'm going to be at your birthday. I know things have been tough. This is something that we have to do. And then she literally absolutely doesn't show up, and she set the precedent that he didn't matter anymore. There's a difference between being like, this is going to be really tough for me for a year, and then just like...
Right, but then think about it from a different perspective. Like, let's say I was throwing a birthday party, and Julie was like, if I don't work tonight, I will lose my job. I'd be like, screw my birthday party. Like, well, you got to pay rent. You know, there's like some situation of it where like, just because the problem is silly, that doesn't mean it's not a problem for that character. Like, no matter what, they could be flipping burgers at a Wendy's on Highway 44, and I would still be like, hey man, don't lose your job over this birthday party. And
there
and
are
also,
reasonable boundaries set in
Met
that
Gala.
situation. If you're not scheduled to, she has a 9-to-5 job that eventually becomes a 24-hour job because her boss is crazy. So I don't know that he has to accept that as reasonable from a character. And it was more of an emotional backlash, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This is a point of contention, too, because Adrian Grenier, who played Nate in the movie, he has gotten heat for his character. Like, there is a lot of Nate hate out there on the internet. Like, he's considered, like, the villain of the movie. He said he was, like, really surprised by that. He's like, what the fuck? Like, and there is, like, a lot of people who think that he kind of trivializes what she was working on. But I think Anne did kind of come out and say, she was like, we are people coming out of college. We're still figuring out how to be mature about our lives, how to balance work and life. And yeah, like he was pouty about his birthday, but he's like a young dude. Like he still doesn't understand like relationship dynamics probably. I will say seeing Anne stand there with the candle and he just walks out of the room. I was like, that was so sad.
She had to like go somewhere and get this cupcake, right?
Yeah, I was like, fuck, that's sad. But I do at the same time understand, like, yeah, he was pouty, but of course, like, it's reasonable to be upset when you can't see your partner, and when their life is being enveloped and you literally can't do anything else. Like, of course, like that's gonna affect the relationship. And like, fuck, like this movie hit so much deeper, I feel like, with the three of us than we expected. I was expecting like a throwaway fun watch.
I was expecting a stupid movie.
Yeah. And this was a super smart, fun movie. And like, fuck, I just love Stanley Tucci in this movie. He is like he's so funny at every scene.
Like the wizened character too. That's just like always dispersing a little bit of knowledge. Like, oh, okay.
He has so much charisma. I liked seeing him warm up to Anne Hathaway's character too, to like when they're friends. Like that was fun. Like I was kind of worried, at least at first, about because Stanley Tucci, I think, is like just a straight dude, and seeing a straight dude play a gay man, I'm like, oh, is it going to be kind of a caricature? But I feel like he handled it with so much depth, I feel, because I actually really liked Nigel's character. Like his asides about, he's like, oh, I have, 5 football playing brothers, and this made me feel like I had a place in the world. Things like that, I think, made him shine as a character.
I didn't pick up that he was gay.
I didn't either. I thought he was just playing in a feminine fashion.
Maybe he was effeminate. Yeah, sure. But like I enjoyed his performance with Anne Hathaway.
That, I think that just kind of, for Ryan and I to say that exact same thing, plays it up. This was a 2006 movie. I expected a gaffe or like but it held up. Like, because they didn't do anything that was like...
I'm
trying to think of, like, there wasn't really anything that it was like a clunker. And
I think I might pick a bone with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that the blonde fucker, the guy who Christian, who was like some photographer or journalist or something, was definitely predatory.
Yeah,
there was a mix of workplace harassment / power imbalance /
totally.
stalkering, persistence kind of an idea. I thought that should not be portrayed.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and I don't think it would be.
No, that's a good point. I think from my perspective, I was like, that is so obviously bad. Like he is obviously a villain because he's being
really?
So creepy.
I didn't get that turn at all. I thought this was an example of one of the things where
I thought they didn't think that it was endearing. I thought
they didn't think it was a problem. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just imparting my own perspective on it, because to me I was like, oh, he's a villain, he's a fucking creep. But maybe at the time they were like, look how cool he is, like you want to be like this guy.
I was like, stop touching the small of my back. Stop touching the small of my back.
God, he was a terrible character. Every time he was on camera, me and Amber were just like, oh fuck, please go away. Please fucking go away, dude. But I think everyone in the cast did exceptionally well. There was only a couple scenes, but where it was like the Nate scene, like when he's arguing with Anne Hathaway's character in the street. Do you think that was a really awkward argument where it was very clearly filmed on 2 different days, where the camera angle goes to him, and there's like the back of Anne Hathaway's head, and I think that's just a stand-in. I don't think it's actually her. And he's like, we don't have anything in common anymore. And the camera flips, and it's Anne Hathaway, and the lighting's kind of different, and it's just the back of his head that's clearly a stand-in. And she's like, what do you mean? And it flips to the same angle again, and it was so awkward.
That's
like
interesting. I didn't notice that.
Focus. Yeah.
Anne, are you free on Tuesday? No. Well, he can do it one-sided.
Yeah. We can put a wig on him and then just have him digitally put him
talks to himself.
Yeah, and I got the same thing with the car scene too, which was a great piece of dialogue. With it's where Anne Hathaway realized that she doesn't want to be like Meryl Streep, where she's like, "You remind me of me," and then the background where it was
the
like the
shitty green screen car background. I couldn't pay attention to the words because I was just looking at it.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yuri and I talked about it.
Yeah, that is a great dialogue scene, but that was so distracting. I was like, oh fuck, I can't do this.
Okay.
Do you guys want to get
No, I have a question.
Yeah. No, Jace. Yeah, please.
And somebody on Twitter who got 4 likes, who's a random person, commented the same thing.
Yeah.
What's with the shot of her in a toe ring? What's the toe ring?
The toe ring.
Yeah, so
Why did it
Julie also noticed the toe ring.
Why did it land there? Why did it stay on the screen for so long? And I was like, is this important?
I think it's when you said that, Jace, and I watched the movie, I was like, I think it's a characterization detail where it's kind of like detailing, maybe it's like her excess. She has like a toe ring and she's a fashionista, and even like in a moment where she's just in bed, like in the morning, she's still wearing like a toe ring, where it's like, that's how that was my
so
read. It's like a character.
She would not have worn it before, and the toe ring shows you how lost in the sauce she is.
Exactly.
See, my interpretation was the exact opposite. I thought it was like you could take, you could take a boy out of the farm, but you can't take the farm out of the boy. In a situation where she didn't have a good fashion sense, and she was still wearing.
Somebody's like, "Why the fuck are you wearing a toe ring right now?"
And she's like, "They're cool, right?" No.
Yuri told me that she used to wear toe rings, and then for some reason, right about the time we started dating, she stopped wearing toe. She's like, "I like toe rings."
Yeah, it's a 2000s thing, and I think that's interesting.
Toe rings are so tough.
We got two different huge interpretations of the toe ring scene, which is why they put these things in the movie. The toe ring is in a way like the Inception.
It was so jarring.
I want a movie that's all toe ring scenes.
Directed by Quentin Tarantino. Did you guys read anything about the sequels for this movie?
Or the
There's 2 book sequels. Okay. One of the sequels is Revenge Wears Prada, which takes place 10 years later, where Emily and Andy are actually best friends now, and they start their own magazine together. But then there's a whole thing where like Meryl Streep's character comes back to like acquire the magazine, and there's like a whole fucking thing. Yeah. And then there's a third one that came out 2018 called When Life Gives You Lululemons, and it follows just Emily.
That's
where she's like,
funny.
Yeah. Seems fun. The synopses are online if y'all are curious about what happens to their characters.
I'm sorry, but I'm not. Like, this is a fine story.
Well, I'm curious. I might read Revenge Wears Prada.
It sounds like fanfic.
It's not fanfic. It's canon. She wrote it.
I think it's fanfic that the author wrote.
It actually might be, because this might be actually fictional compared to her first Devil Wears Prada book, which is what happened.
Ryan,
unless you got contact.
At what point does your writing go from fanfic to actual book?
Dude, it's all fanfic. That's my secret, Cap. No, but I've got stories that I've written that aren't published that take place in that universe, like short stories and stuff that don't make it. I've got a whole kind of like, I don't want to say like bestiary. Yeah, that's the thing.
Bestiality.
Where timid fucks wolves.
Yeah. No, but like where he like travels around and like writes articles about like weird shit on the aisle.
Oh, that's cool. That's fucking sweet. It's like world building stuff.
Yeah, but that was originally going to be part of the book, where between chapters, or between not chapters, but between parts, you would get like 1 or 2 of his articles, and then you would go on, and the next part would just continue, like,
Oh, that's cool. That's fucking sweet. Yeah.
This is your mid-episode opportunity to send fan fiction to our Gmail account.
Yeah, while you're doing, send fanfic if you got them. Send a review now that we're mid-episode.
We'll eventually get to the front of the episode.
I
think we had one.
Do we want to get into meters?
Yeah.
Meters.
What did we agree on for was it Hathaway meter?
Hathoscope?
Hathoscope. Huh.
Yeah, we said the Hathaway meter for now.
Okay, so who kicked us off? Jace, are you first this season? Because I think Ryan was starting us off last season. What do you got for the Hathaway meter? We're measuring Anne Hathaway independent from the movie. Like how Anne Hathaway was this movie. Like how much was she in this movie? How much did this movie revolve around her or her character? Metrics we've used before in previous seasons.
Yeah. Quality and quantity are high. This is going to be hard because I don't feel comfortable objectifying Anne Hathaway like I did Ben Affleck.
Right.
So the glam up was there, you know?
Yeah.
The feel like maybe she does that in a lot of her movies. Like
yeah, we kind of just like the makeover, right? Like that's kind of a trope in some of her movies.
So the makeover was there. She's a phenomenal actor. Hated the toe ring.
Okay, toe ring minus 2 points.
Yeah. Fine.
Toe ring -1.
Guys, let's keep a toe ring counter because my hot take might be this is not the last toe ring we see in the Hathaway season.
Oh god. She doesn't yet have a catchphrase that I'm aware of, you know, so that kind of takes away from it. And
what?
She does a Borat impression a lot.
Yeah, she goes,
my wife. I'm gonna give her a 9.
Yeah.
On the
you don't seem
Hathawayometer.
enthusiastic about
he looks confused. His face looks confused.
That was the most like
I didn't really get a chance to think about this because I watched the movie, then I went to bed, and I spent almost all of yesterday belligerently drunk. But I was very happy with her performance in this movie. And the only thing that caught me off guard was the toe ring.
So -1 for toe ring.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Because she did do super well in this movie.
and she did have a toe ring.
And she did have a toe ring.
Wait, are we 100% that it was her?
It panned up. It panned up to her face. So unless she had a body double to do just the toe ring scene, and then she was like in the top half.
Imagine that. Imagine the script calling for a toe ring, and you'd be like, no.
I'm not.
Did a cutaway bed with someone stored underneath.
Like maybe she has a weird like index toe that couldn't fit it.
Oh.
And they're like, wow, we don't.
Yeah, my toe next to my big toe is bigger than my big toe.
It's longer.
It's longer?
So I probably wouldn't. No, it's fatter.
What? No. Hold on. It's wider than your thumb toe?
But I do have weird feet. I can do I can grab stuff. I can
That's good.
Open my toes like I can.
You're supposed to be able to do that.
How does that not surprise me at all?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. What am I talking
Oh
about?
yeah, Anne she also runs out into the
I-
street like she has with reckless abandon multiple times in New York. And I'm surprised Emily was the only person who got hit by a car.
Yeah, I think people get hit by the cars all the time over there.
Okay, well, I'm thinking about my Hathaway meter too, because this is always like the tough part, right? When we start off on episode 1, like what defines our meters? We get a better idea of who the actor is, I think, by episode 4. But my image of Anne Hathaway is kind of like this. She has this giddy energy, which I think comes out in this movie, where she's excited to be in New York and wants to start this new job. She has this kind of very nice, like natural, charming performance. Like she's fun to watch in the role. Like her comedic scenes are really entertaining and she's really charismatic. I didn't quite believe that she was supposed to be like this frumpy character who's like, who's not glamorous, but maybe that was part of the toxicity of the movie. Maybe you're supposed to be like, well, what the fuck? What's wrong with her? And that's kind of part of how extreme Meryl Streep and the rest of the industry is. But yeah, she was a nice foil to the raw toxicity of The Office. And just seeing her interact with the different levels of toxicity, I think was really interesting. I think she had very good physical acting too. After the makeover, which seems to happen all the time with her movies. She had this kind of like this runway model walk afterwards. She had this like poised confidence, which I think totally made the new look work. I think some actors who wouldn't know how to move like that, there's a specific way to walk to present like those types of clothes. It could have looked awkward maybe with another actor, but she really nailed those parts. And when she kind of came out of that glam up, and like really came into the room where everyone's head was turning, and then she kind of kept that poise throughout the rest of the movie, which I think may not be really believable in a real life sense, but it worked for this movie. But yeah, really solid performance. This kind of really, got the wheels rolling for her dramatic portion of her career, which, I'm grateful for because she had a lot of great roles afterwards. So I think I'm gonna give this a 10, dude. Actually, because I think this goes along with how I imagine Anne Hathaway in her roles. I don't think she's playing something that's really outside of my perception of her, but I think she's utilized in probably the best extent. She's in pretty much every scene in this movie too. So this is, knocks it out of the park. Anne Hathaway movie. Nice job, Anne.
Yeah, there's not much to disagree with, I think, with you guys, except I'm just going to come out and say I'm going to give a 9, right? So, once again, she's in every scene in the movie. She does all these Anne Hathaway things. It's not really a rom-com. I don't think she's known
It's not
for
at all. Why you think it's rom? It's just calm. It's the drom-com.
No, I completely disagree with that, Denali.
You're saying it's not rom, but it never classified itself as a rom.
No, I'm saying it's not rom-com because it's too rom and not com.
But what part is rom?
The rom? There's 2 roms.
She has a deteriorating relationship with her boyfriend, which is not like a rom trope.
And then she roms again with another guy. We already talked about that.
Was
And then she comes
Interstellar
back and she
a sci-fi
re-roms.
rom for you, Ryan?
Because I feel like
Kinda.
the romantic aspects seem to make a really small portion of the movie, because the motivating force was the relationship between her and her courier and her and her boss, which is why I didn't think it was
a rom-drom.
It was a drom-com. There's no rom.
There's no com.
There was plenty of gags in the movie. Like, I thought it was like a funny movie. I mean,
Anyways,
I don't understand.
it's gonna lose a point for not being a rom-com.
Oh my god.
And I don't like that she got back together with the guy at the end. This is not only a movie thing, because I think my vision of Anne Hathaway is strong, independent woman who don't need no man. And at the end, she takes back this guy who said all these mean things about her and didn't support her. So that loses a point, Anne. I'm very disappointed in you.
I'm looking at genres right now, and it says comedy.
Oh my God, drop
comedy
it.
Comedy drama, and I'm looking at Wikipedia. Comedy drama.
It's com-drom, but it's not a rom-com.
No one said it was a rom-com.
That's why I'm deducting a point.
Because you want it to be a rom-com?
Yes, because I think of Anne Hathaway as rom-com. What's hard to understand? It's an Anne Hathaway meter.
Comedy. That last statement makes it make a lot more sense.
This is the Anne Hathaway meter. It's not a rom-com, so I'm taking a point off.
Okay, now I think I'm understanding right, because maybe I just wasn't like clicking with what you were saying, because you're basically saying like Anne Hathaway's usually in rom-coms, and because this wasn't, is that okay? But
it's not a rom-com.
Okay. So you agree though, this movie is not a romantic movie?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
It's basically just a dram. No. Wait, no. I disagree with you. It's a rom-dram.
Oh no.
There's too much rom. I wish there was less rom. Or wait, I wish there was less rom.
There was hardly any rom.
It's too much.
But just because like an action movie has a romantic interest doesn't mean it makes it a romantic action.
Now we're conflating it.
Yeah.
So that's in my enjoyability.
Okay.
Right. This wasn't a rom-com because it wasn't enough com.
Yeah.
But you wanted it to be.
Well, tell me this.
For
Anne
Anne
Hathaway's
Hathaway.
purposes.
The Lake House.
Yes.
Not a rom-com.
I totally agree. It didn't have nearly enough com.
It's just a romantic movie. It's not a rom-com.
Yeah, it's not a rom-com. Not enough com.
But we had a whole thing in the Lake House where you said it was a rom-com, and you're like,
No,
for a rom-com, there's not enough
I was
com.
saying it's not a rom-com because it doesn't have enough com. What is so complicated about saying a movie isn't a rom-com?
Okay. I think I get what you're saying. Jace, what's your movie meter?
I think. Jesus Christ. It's also up there. This is a great movie.
I'm not doing a bit. I'm serious.
I know we're serious. That's why I'm laughing. I understand what you're saying, but it's still confusing me. Great movie. I love the character's journey. Meryl Streep again killed it. She like comes into the entire office reacting the way that they did because she was 30 minutes early and having to go through that whole gag where everyone prepped everything and made it look pretty. And then Meryl Streep delivered this minute-long monologue of the tasks and things that needed to be done, which is like, and it really it set the tone, one, for her character, but like kind of knew what Anne Hathaway was getting into when she had to interact with this really just strongly willed character. Mm-hmm. It kept me involved throughout the whole movie. I thought that, you know, each one of the characters had something. There weren't any really throwaway characters. The one thing that I felt like it was a bit too long. I think in the third act, I was like, kind of like, oh my God, this movie is still. I think I also want to give it a 9. I think I want to double up there. I enjoyed enjoyed watching it. I thought, again, most of the acting was believable. Nothing really missed besides time. I thought in there, I was like, wow, we could move through this, please.
Mm-hmm. 9, shit. That's pretty high. Like, going into this movie, I thought this would be like, because I've seen certain individual scenes just because it's in like the cultural zeitgeist. But like, I was expecting this to be like a guilty pleasure movie after I watched it, but this is just a regular pleasure movie. Like, I just enjoyed this movie unironically. I think it was totally effective in what it was trying to portray, just as the overall theme of kind of like a little bit like burnout, but also just someone being enveloped into their work, dealing with a toxic workplace. Jace, I'm glad you brought up Meryl Streep. I feel like I haven't really talked about her yet, but she was so fucking good. I think she got an Oscar nom too for this role. From the very first moment you see her come out of the elevator and just this one look she gives, you totally get her character just right there. Her delivery of every single thing where she's like, that's all, like, that was just, it's so grating, but it's so perfect. She was just so, you can just tell she had a lot of fun coloring that character in. This movie was weirdly poignant, like we were talking about before. Like, I didn't expect us to have such a serious conversation, but in like a positive way about this movie. Usually when we have conversations like that, it's pointing out a serious societal flaw and we're kind of venting about it. But this movie was just so well executed. All of the characters, I think, were just so great, like from Stanley Tucci and Emily Blunt. I think this was one of Emily Blunt's first big movies, I think, too, because I think she was also early on in her career. She was actually coming out of I think she was auditioning for Aragon, she said at the time, and then didn't get the audition.
Saw that twice in theaters.
Oh.
You saw our Aragon? Oh, fuck.
Don't tell other people that.
But I'll edit that out. Don't worry, Ryan. And she was, she said she was so bummed about missing the Aragon, audition, and then got this role right after. And man, what a fucking trade up. But this movie wasn't completely perfect. I think there were some lines maybe were a little cheesy. There was some pacing issues too. Maybe it didn't need to be exactly 2 hours long. There were portions in the middle where I think it dragged slightly too long. Like the Harry Potter book quest, I think, was just a little bit too long. There are little things like that. Anne Hathaway's relationships with her friends and boyfriend too just seemed kind of shallow and out of place. Like, I didn't feel like their relationship was real. I don't know if there's any out of place scenes that maybe could have colored that in more. The real heart of the movie was her and her boss's relationship, and maybe that was intentional. I don't know. I think this one's going to be a solid, I'm going to say 8.5 for me. Very enjoyable. Really surprisingly good. I think it can go higher for Anne, so I'm going to leave a little room on top. But yeah, fucking classic, dude. Didn't expect this. Usually episode 1, we start off with a bad movie. So yeah.
What was our first Matthew McConaughey movie?
Rain of Fire, but that one's...
Oh, damn.
Okay, yeah, we did like that movie, though.
This is kind of a Rain of Fire, I think,
Yeah, kind of is, yeah.
I think I'm going to give it an 8. I really like this movie. I didn't expect to like it so much, and that's what we just talked about. But there's a couple things that come to mind where, once again, too much rom, not enough com. And I think from a com dram like this, maybe also not enough dram? It was just weird. It was just always like I knew everything was going to work out in the end. In a dram, I don't really want that so much.
But there was too much com. Is that your complaint?
No, not enough com.
Okay, it's too much rom.
Too much rom.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there maybe my two My two biggest nitpicks are about the rom, where she said, or when the guy freaking unconsensually kissed her at that art show, and her friend saw and literally ran in the opposite direction. Like it's the I can explain cliche, where the confusion would have been perfectly fixed if there was a short conversation where they, weren't jumping to giant assumptions. And then the fact that she, went crawling back to this deadbeat guy who, doesn't give her no respect. I didn't like that. I thought it was out of character for her, and it showed not as much progress as I would have liked, even though she made professional progress. Like, what'd she learn about relationship progress? I don't know what she did. The outfit montages were amazing. And also the montages of repetitive office life. So, Jace, I wonder if you thought about that at all, where there's also technical garble, like jargon, where to me, since I don't know all that much about fashion, but I know what Dolce & Gabbana is, but it sounds like nothing when they're talking to each other, when they're using office speak. So if someone was to listen to one of my conversations with a coworker, it would also probably sound like absolute nonsense. But
guilty, not guilty. Law.
No.
Justice. Justice.
Yeah, you know what? When you say it like that, I'm realizing that my job is extremely easy. I'm just a fucking Neanderthal. I thought that was really accurate with maybe somewhat modern office life. So 8. I think she can do better. I do agree, and it's not on her. This is about she's not making the movies. I didn't say that. I think she's in better movies, but I really like this movie. I'd totally recommend it to anybody, no matter the gender. It's not. Don't get too hung up on the fashion thing. Even if you don't like fashion, Anne Hathaway didn't like fashion in this movie, so that's fine.
Yeah, this movie's labeled as a quote-unquote chick flick, which is a label I fucking hate. But
maybe that's what I'm looking for. Instead of the com rom dram debacle, maybe I'm thinking of chick flick.
Yeah, and
For
I
me,
just
chick flick and rom com's the same thing.
I mean, yes, sort of, but I feel like guys can or anyone else can rom coms too, and just I also just hate the word chick too. It's just so fucking degrading. But chick flick too, it just implies this is just for girls, and that label attached to this movie when you Google it too, it's I think anyone could fucking like this movie. There was nothing inherently, I guess, maybe that's it. We don't need gender constructs in anything, but there was nothing inherently gendered, I feel, in this, in a traditional sense. But it's a great fucking movie. I didn't expect to want to recommend this to people, but yeah, it was awesome. This is the director's first, I think, movie of this caliber too.
I did just see that, yeah.
Because he directed the pilot of Entourage, who I think the boyfriend was.
The boyfriend looks like a total Entourage.
He was in Entourage. I think he's a character in there. And then he did Marley and Me after this, which is a soul-crushing movie. And then he did another rom-com with Meryl Streep called Hope Springs. And I think that's it. That's all he did. Just one huge monster, I think, that he made. You guys ever see Marley and Me?
Yes.
That movie ruined my week.
Because remember, I went to hang out with Jace right after he had seen it. And he was like, I'm too fucking sad to do anything.
It's so sad. That's for our dog season Redux. That might have to go on the
and Hachi movies where dogs die.
Oh, that's a good season. Movies where dogs die.
the graveyard.
Okay, so we have a new format with the movie picking system that we discussed in State of the Podcast to kind of cut down on our movie picking time, because sometimes that takes a long time of us deliberating. We have shifted the position of movie dictator to Jace, since he has a synopsis next week. Jace, do you have a movie in mind?
I was just looking at IMDb scores to see which one of these that I wanted to watch was the lowest.
Oh no!
Because I thought this movie was so good. Next week, we're gonna go in theme with our first season ever. We're gonna get a little bit of the Benny boy. We are going to watch The Last Thing He Wanted from 2020.
What?
With Ben Affleck
what in the world?
and Anne Hathaway.
What are you talking about?
Wait, I haven't even heard of that.
They're
they are in a movie together. It is from 2020. Willem Dafoe is in it as well.
What the fuck? How have I never heard of this? Okay, wait. Let me look this
So,
up. Oh my
a
God.
veteran DC
watch
journalist
the Ben Affleck
loses the
movie?
thread of her own narrative when a guilt-propelled errand for her father thrusts her from byline to unwitting subject in the very story she's trying to break. Adapted from Joan Didion's namesake novel.
Oh my God, it has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's a Netflix original movie.
Oh, wow. Huh. So,
Oh my
looks
God.
terribly, terribly great for us to
Fucking
review.
terrible. Okay, sweet. Let's fucking do it. The last thing he wanted, an iconic Willem Dafoe, Rosie Perez, Ben Affleck. How the
Huge fucking
fuck-
cast, man.
This is stacked. Directed by Dee Rees. All right, baby, let's do it. She is a lead in here, like straight up. She's first
Yeah.
build. So this is fair pick, dude. Let's
Wow,
fucking do it.
Jace. Good kudos on finding these weird movies.
This is it's rare when you see a single digit Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, I hope this movie's reviewable. If somebody watches it and they're like, red flag, red flag, red flag, and we have to pivot, then so be it.
1984 U.S. presidential election to care for her dying father,
That sounds
And
boring.
then-
AF.
Oh, yeah.
and she learns about the Iran Contra.
Jace is like, I understand.
I want to give this movie
It's
like
an
a
Iran
1.
Contra movie.
It's an Iran Contra movie. Another one
It's about Iran Contra, 1984.
with another Ben Affleck Iran Contra movie.
Well, wait, because Ben Affleck wasn't Argo wasn't Iran Contra though, because that was before Iran Contra. This is
Okay, so
84.
another Iranian hostage movie starring Ben Affleck.
All right, guys, join us next week for the last thing he wanted. What was it called?
Fucking some piece of shit we found on Netflix.
What the fuck is this movie called? I don't even remember.
I don't
Jace,
even
what is this?
remember. I
remember the
closed
movie
all my
Abyss?
tabs.
I think it's the last thing he wanted. We'll say it again in the next episode. Yeah, join us next week for that movie. You don't have to watch it, or you can. It's on Netflix, guys. Follow us on everything. Review us on everything. Write us a review. Pull over your car. Stop walking, and then just write it real quick and say I love GBGBs or whatever you want.
Fanfic.
And send us fanfic at gbgbpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, any fanfic meaning fanfics
Yeah.
of us.
Alien
Fanfics of us.
fanfic.
That's-
or the
that's
movies.
so important.
Or the movies we have reviewed.
Yeah, it can't be like a Star Wars fan. Like, I
Yeah.
fucking read those all day on my own time. So,
And please
anything to do with us.
And one that you've written.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. God, that's
Have some
that's-
integrity.
yeah.
Don't just send us fanfic from the internet unless you wrote it to begin with.
Anyways, as always,
Good boys gone bye-bye.
good boys gone bye bye.